Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Team Development. We have looked at starting rosters for all of the teams that have been spawned in the Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook. We've looked at some tournament rosters as well, and during those we've discussed skills. What skills go well on what player? Now, with the edition about to drop, it means hopefully tabletop leagues will be able to start again soon. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look through each player, look at the skills they need or really do well with, and in what order we think you should give them. And because the box set is about to go live on pre-order, we thought it might be a good idea to have a proper look at the Imperial Nobility team. Okay, so I love this team, and I love this team because it is, quite frankly, not as good as humans at doing all of the stuff, but it plays a really interesting control game, and it kind of gives that underdog feel. I mean, those of you that ever played Khemri will know what I mean. So, Imperial Nobility, they have a thrower, but the thrower is not as good at throwing as the human team. So, the Imperial Thrower is 75k, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 3+, armor 9+, pass and running pass with general and passing on primary, and agility and strength on secondary. So instead of having pass 2+ like the human thrower and a couple of other throwers, this guy is a 3+ passer. It does have pass, so like we're all kind of like, well, 3+ is just not very good. 3+ is as good as most teams used to get. So it's fine. You can pass, and this team does have some integral catches, some very good integral catches. So a passing game is available. However, my view of what this positional really achieves is it's your ball handler for the most of the time, but also then functions as a secondary blitzer or blocker depending on where you want to go with it. So starting skills for the Imperial Thrower. It really is, in my mind, unless you are going to go pure thrower build, block or leader, depending on how your team is built. So if you're sitting at 2 rerolls in league, you started, you've gone big, you've gone with as many positionals as you can fit in, but you've only got 2 rerolls, this guy becomes your leader caddy while having better agility, better armor than your lineman. So this player is not like a superstar just yet, but is significantly better than a lineman. So being able to take leader to make the whole team operate really well is an absolute no-brainer. If you've got 3 rerolls, or for some reason you don't want it, you've already got leader on one guy. I mean, there's 2 of these throwers, so there's definitely the option to build in several different ways. Block is not a bad skill, and it actually plays into what this thrower wants to do anyway. So with movement 6 and armor 9+, it's a human lineman. But also having pass and running pass means that this Imperial Thrower will be able to position himself to make a pass to whoever he wants to pass, and then if there's any movement left over, he can still carry on moving because of running pass. Now, giving block to that protects from a ball carrying point of view and also from positioning afterwards. So this team has got a lot of pieces with fend, with stand firm. So you're going to kind of be able to control the majority of what the board is looking like. So being able to make that throw and then spend a couple more movement, even rushing if you want to risk, because there may be a good situation for you there, it can then move up and with block form another great defensive pieces, another great defensive play. I like that flexibility. Now there are some other skills, so if you want to go for a throwing style, you can just take accurate given plus, saying 2+, 3+ for quick and short. That's realistically all you're going to want to be doing, and a 2+ with a reroll is as good as it gets in this game. Sure hands is not bad either. I prefer block because Ben and I were having this chat the other day, and sure hands comes into play 2 times a game if you're lucky, but block is going to come up significantly more on defense and on offense. So you can kind of save a team reroll for the sure hands moment, or you can just take block. So it's like that. We've also got on the ball as well. So as this player develops, being able to have sure hands or on the ball is going to save time when it comes to actually just getting the offense operating. Nerves of Steel will help with any kind of throw game, and Sure Feet is just going to help him speed around, especially with that running pass, being able to position him afterwards. Doubles, or secondary skills. Dodge. Dodge will be wonderful on this player. If you can get block and dodge on an Imperial Thrower, as well as those Blitzers, then your team is going to really start humming along. Sure Feet. Sure Feet's agility, don't know why it's still on there. Sure Feet will help you move around faster, and Break Tackle will allow you to once per turn dodge on a 2+ instead of a 3+, and generally speaking, when you're making dodge rolls, that 2+, you only need 1. You should only kind of be dodging once per turn, and just being able to add +1 to one of your dodges is going to be really massive for you. And here we can kind of look at both of the positionals that you can build out of the Imperial Thrower, or at least the first ones that come into mind. The leader strategy there, leader and block, becomes another blocker and has that leader ability. Your second thrower, you can then allow a bit of spice, so sure hands, accurate, on the ball, nerves of steel, and start building a thrower. There's really no reason not to. I mean, from a consistency point of view, I imagine that block will be better on both of them all of the time, but it's a way less exciting route. Giving that thrower accurate or sure hands is going to help your offense anyway. I like accurate. I think getting that 2+ pass with a reroll is going to open up your team a little bit, especially as your blitzers have catch. So it seems like a bit of a wasted opportunity if you don't do it, and you've got running pass. So the idea is you get accurate, then you have 6 squares of movement in which to run around and throw the ball short, 2+ with a reroll to 3+ with a reroll catch, and just make the most of any bit of speed you can get out of this team. Now we're going to look at the real star players of this roster, which is the Noble Blitzers. So these guys have a bit of lineage in, they're very similar to the Bretonnian Blitzers, but with one slight change. So these Noble Blitzers are 105k, so quite pricey. Movement 7, which makes them the fastest piece on the team. Strength 3, Agility 3+, Passing 4+, which is not bad. AV 9+ with block and catch. So the difference here between the Imperial Nobility Blitzer and the Bretonnian Blitzer is the lack of that Dauntless skill, which just was a bit of a free roll. So let's forget that for now. What you get out of this Blitzer is a human Blitzer, for the most part, that comes with catch as a free roll. So it's kind of like a dual piece. Catch is... Don't think about catch as if I have to throw the ball to this guy. We did just talk about the thrower, and you can definitely do it, but catch is just there to make sure that you're handoff, because these guys are going to be the ones that are scoring most of the time. It's going to be the blitzers, it's going to be the throwers being protected by the blitzers, and you know what? Being able to get a reroll to hand off the ball, because catch will give you that reroll, is just going to make these guys way more effective. It's not a big flashy skill, it's not a big flashy ability, it's just consistency, and consistency will win you games in Blood Bowl. So, skills-wise for the Blitzer, dodge. Giving these guys blodge and at movement 7 is going to be fantastic. So human blitzers that took a double and got dodge ended up always being really solid pieces. So getting dodge on these guys as quick as possible is going to help their mobility, but more importantly, it's going to help their survivability. Now don't get me wrong, strength 3 block, armor 9+ is just fine. But dodge means that these guys are hardly ever going down, and it's just going to really benefit you. And yes, you can take that 3+ dodge with a reroll when you need to as well, which creates that stretch play. As you level up with a single mindset, you've got tackle, frenzy, sidestep, and jump up. So these are just kind of other skills that you can take. I don't know that many of them are all that important. Tackle and frenzy are definitely 2 tactical ones that you can consider. Having a tackler in your backfield to be a safety is always useful in a tournament setting, but it will depend on your league. So if you've got a lot of dodgy teams, if you've got a lot of stunty, and you've got a lot of elves, for example, then tackle as quickly as you can is going to be really good for you. But in a brawly league, tackle is going to do nothing. Frenzy will be useful. Now, normally, frenzy is a risky skill, and you've got to use it very, very carefully. But because of how this team is built, and we'll have a look at this with the Bodyguards in a minute, you're probably going to end up with quite a few guard pieces. And guard plus frenzy equals a very, very effective time. Sidestep's going to help with mobility. Jump up, again, going to help with mobility. And if you want to go really deep, you've got sure feet and sprint to just make them faster. Hey, Griff had to get started somewhere. And then you've got diving tackle and diving catch, which are agility skills that will just help this noble blitzer do things. Diving catch will give you +1 to catch, so you will then be catching on a 2+ with the reroll. Plus you've got that scatter around as well. We'll look at the strength skills before we come to the primary. So saving up for a double and taking Mighty Blow is not a bad strategy with the blitzer. Now, realistically, knocking a guy down has a reasonably effective, like, tactical impact. So you don't need to end everybody. If you knock them down, that's fine. You can then play around it from a control and tight play point of view. But having Mighty Blow to finish somebody off is going to be really effective in the long game. So having your blitzers be your strikers is not going to hurt. Now, your bodyguards are going to be doing most of the blocking and punching. That's why you give them guard. The noble blitzers are going to blitz, and with the ease that they can get in dodge, and with that movement 7 mobility, they're going to be able to strike exactly where they want to. So saving up and taking Mighty Blow is not going to be bad for them at all. Also, taking break tackle will give you +1 to a dodge once per activation with a player. So that's going to make you dodging once on a 2+. And if you've already got dodge as well, then it's going to really basically a Dark Elf Blitzer at that point. And Dark Elf Blitzers are not bad at all. You can put guard on these guys, and the fact they're movement 7 and can often end up with dodge makes them quite mobile, and then they're able to hunt in packs. If one goes guard, one goes frenzy, you can have a really good time, but you kind of waste your noble blitzers. There is also Dauntless, so if you want to go the route of Faux Bretonia, you can take Dauntless, but it massively depends on your league. Most teams are going to have a target, okay, whether it's a big guy or just strength 4 lineman. So Dauntless is going to be useful, but it will depend on your league setting. If you're up against Dwarves, Skaven and Elves, don't bother with Dauntless. Take Frenzy, take Tackle, take Guard. But it is definitely a skill to consider, and it's just a general as well. These guys should be able to score quite a lot of TDs, so you should be able to get that dodge quite quickly, and then you can decide based on your league and the rest of your team what toolkit skills to give this guy, whether you save up for Mighty Blow, whether you go for Tackle. We didn't cover this for the thrower, so we'll go back and do that in just a second. But stats-wise for these guys, actually, with the exception of passing, they're not a bad candidate to save for a stat up. With the Noble Blitzer, potentially, what you might want to do is get dodge real quick, and then just save up to go for that stat up. Now, I can't remember how many it would be at that point. I think probably another 20 SPP to get the stat up after the first level up. So you'll get 6 SPP, take dodge, and then just wait for 20. Feels like a long way, and you can get 2 skills in that time, but it will allow you to just be stronger across the board. It is 20. So you're looking at 26 SPP all in. If you spend 6 on the primary for dodge and then 20, there's no way around it. It's going to be 26. Either 18 for a stat up and then 8 for a second skill, or 6 for a first skill and 20 for a stat up. So 1 through 7 MA or AV. Movement 8 on these guys is going to be fantastic. 8 through 13 MA, PA, AV. You could give them passing 3+. But movement 8 is better, and then that's where it gets really juicy. At 14 you get agility 2+ on this guy, which would be huge, and then strength or agility at 15, 16, and that really depends on what and how you see these guys performing. I imagine that strength will be better. It's very expensive and it will absolutely bloat your TV, but I can recommend that because there isn't a bad roll. So dodge, save up for a stat, or hurry through tackle if that's what your league is looking at. Let's bounce back to the thrower and look at their stats. And very quickly with the Imperial Throwers, if you can wait, there is not a bad roll here. I can't believe I forgot to cover this, but these guys become really inspiring. Actually, that's not true. Let's cut that out. Okay, so very quickly with the thrower and stat ups, not as beneficial because 6 to 7 is a lot less than 7 to 8. So for when it comes to movement anyway. So when you do a roll with these guys, 1 through 7 is going to give you MA. Movement 7 is okay. 8 to 13 is going to give you movement, passing, or AV. And passing 2+ is not going to hurt your tactics at all. So passing 2+ is actually quite a big boost. Passing 2+ with pass for this Imperial Thrower and running pass is going to really get them motoring along. So that's 8 through 13. 14 you get agility or passing, and that really is down to you whether you would like an agility 2+ thrower or a passing 2+ thrower. I would probably take the agility 2+. It just gives better consistency with running around with the thrower, but at that point the thrower becomes your ball carrier. On a 2+ with the passer, then you've got some serious passing game, and then there's always a roll of 15 and 16, which can give you that strength. I don't know if I would be super excited to take strength on the thrower. I mean, strength 4 is pretty great at all points, and at that point you really do develop him into being a big blitzer. So it's an interesting one. You can save up for it, but you do risk that movement 1 through 7 on the result. At that point you can check down and get a double, and as we discussed, there's quite a few doubles that are not going to hurt this player's development. Bit of a risk, but definitely worth considering. Okay, and now we've got the blockers of this team, the Bodyguards. So the Bodyguards are a really interesting piece. They come with wrestle and stand firm. So these guys kind of just form the corners of anywhere you want them to stay. And they do the same thing as most parking bollards. They just stop anybody from moving through. So in that regard, pretty useful player piece. Let's just get their cost up really quickly. So the Bodyguards are 90k, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 5+, armor 9+, stand firm, wrestle with GS on regular and AP on secondary. So these guys, although they have wrestle, are your strength pieces. So giving them guard as quickly as possible is going to help because they are going to be deployed amongst other bodyguards. And when they are not deployed amongst bodyguards, they are going to be guarding other people. It's not just because they've got guard in the name. Wrestle is bad when combined with guard, but guard works on your opponent's turn anyway, so it's gonna be okay. If you're gonna have to buddy up guard with a skill, I would rather have wrestle, which is optional, than no skill at all. So do think about that. So taking guard on these guys is just going to make that team stronger and tougher to beat down. Stand firm is going to mean you're going to keep them in place, and that tied in with fend on the lineman is going to mean that your guys are not moving very much. Mighty blow, tackle, grab, and break tackle to get that single 2+ dodge are also skills that the bodyguards are going to benefit from. Taking guard first is going to be really useful. Once you've got guard on the go, you can go for that mighty blow. Tackle is not a bad option. These guys are movement 6, so actually if you want to use your blitzers to blitz and score touchdowns, you can tailor them that way, and the bodyguards can do the mincing, and mighty blow is going to help them with that tackle, allowing them to be that safety. So though they can take that role, movement 6 is fine. Really, you kind of think you want to put these guys on the line, but you can deploy them as your linebackers and they're going to be just fine. Being able to blitz in there with wrestle is going to be really effective. Grab and guard are a superb combo, so if these guys do end up on the line, if you do deploy them as blockers, they are going to be able to control that line with stand firm and grab and guard. They are really going to start dominating against most teams except Black Orcs, which is ironic given that's the team they're playing against in the box set. Doubles wise, dodge is going to be useful to keep them alive, and 3+ dodge is not a bad option. Jump up is probably one of the top tips for them because they've got wrestle. So wrestle, they go down, they take someone with them. On their turn, they jump up for free and get an opportunity to essentially, I think, 2+ just make a block without blitzing. That will keep that brawling grind on the way. Defensive will be very useful to turn off your opponent's guard in your turn, but I think it's more of a 3rd or 4th skill. You kind of want to create the dominance and then defensive comes into counterplay. But again, and we'll say this with all of these teams, it depends on your league. If you've got a Black Orc Dwarf heavy league, where there's a lot of guard, defensive is going to be a higher priority. And defensive on this piece, who tends to be in the combat, will be very useful. And sidestep is just there because sidestep is always great. Then we've got the big boy, the Ogre. So the Ogre actually works in this team really well. It's a very expensive team, and I'm sure you've seen from starting rosters or from just doing your own maths that they're quite pricey. But the Ogre is going to be so useful in this team for actually bashing and smashing. So Ogres everywhere. Strength, agility general on a double. Your first skill with an Ogre really should be one of these, depending on your team. So brawler or block, single or double. Really interesting one. With this Ogre, if you want to use it as your blitzer, which I don't know if you do, but you can give it juggernaut instead. I would prefer brawler because the Ogre is going to be on the line all of the time, really, and he's just going to be able to farm out the benefits of the brawler skill. If you want to save up and take block instead, that is absolutely, I'd say, the right decision in the long run. It just depends on how long you're going to be playing with that team, because how long is that Ogre going to take to get 6 SPP all the way up to 12? Other great skills, you can save up 12, take Pro on the Ogre. Pro will help with Bonehead and will also help with blocking. So break tackle on the Ogre. The Ogre is kind of one of the last bastions of proper break tackle, but because he's strength 5, he's going to get +2 to his dodge once per turn, so that's going to take it from an agility 4+ to agility 2+. So that Ogre is going to be able to maneuver. Guard is great, so putting guard on your Ogre and using him as a bastion on the line of scrimmage is also never a bad strategy. Any one of those skills is a great starting place for an Ogre. Break tackle probably the least, and I'm going to struggle to save up for for block or pro. I think brawler, then guard. You're going to be able to use brawler to murder more stuff and just make the Ogre more effective. Bonehead is a nega trait, but it is the lightest of all the nega traits. It's going to come up 3 times a game, kind of, and you can work around it. The skills after that, you've got grab and multiple block. These are 2 great skills, but this is really 3rd, 4th skill territory. Grab is going to help dominate and control the line of scrimmage, and when you've got those guard, wrestle, stand firm pieces and fend linemen, you can use grab to really position your enemy wherever you want them. Multiple block will be useful once your bodyguards start getting guard switched on, because then it goes from 2 strength 3 blocks to 2 strength 4 blocks, and that's where making 2 blocks with 2 dice and the brawler skill with Mighty Blow starts to really thin out your opponent's line. Double wise, again, we've got dodge and frenzy. Now there's not a lot of massive murder potential on the Imperial Nobility team, so you can build your Ogre as a juggernaut frenzy piece and just pretend it's a Minotaur. It's going to be subpar, and it doesn't really play into the tactic of this team, which is to control the ground, but it is going to be fun, so definitely consider that. Stats wise, wouldn't even bother with the Ogre. Movement 6 is fine. Agility is nah. Strength 6 isn't actually a massive boost over strength 5 anyway, unless you're playing a kaiju game of Blood Bowl, which will come up, but at that point I'd rather just have brawler and some guard pieces on my team, which you're going to get. Strength on a random for the Ogre is a risk in this team, because you get strong arm, which is not going to be useful, but on the screen here we've got 5 strength skills that will be useful. Then you've got things like piling on, or pile driver, which is medium. I would probably rather wait for 3 SPP, get brawler on purpose, than I would risk rolling strong arm, or just not ideal. That is how I would play the Ogre. And last but not least, we have the Retainer Lineman. So the lineman piece for this team is a very interesting design choice. It's not cheap for what it does. So 45k, movement 6, which is average, strength 3, which is average, agility 4+, which is actually a little bit below average, the average being 3+. Passing 4+ is great if you're a Dark Elf. Inside joke. AV 8+, so they are actually quite fragile, and they come with Fend. So these guys do feel about 10k overcosted, and at the same price as the Goblin Bruiser guys from the Black Orc team. I think I'd rather take them. However, strength 3 is going to be useful, and Fend is going to help you just control the line of scrimmage, or in fact anywhere that your alignment is. They're not going to follow up. it's going to be quite useful to keep that space, you know, so it'll be useful for line of scrimmage and for maneuvering a cage. So leveling up these guys is actually really simple. They only get general, block, or wrestle. It doesn't matter. Maybe lean off the wrestle with the lineman, because you've got 4 bodyguards that start with wrestle. Block might be more useful. You can put tackle on one of them if you want to use that guy as your safety. Now, having low agility means that the ball carrying ability is lessened, which actually kind of frees them up to fight things. You've got kick and dirty player as individual skills as well, so I would probably recommend one of each of those on this team as it develops. Don't go in too early on the dirty player, because this team is pricey, so it's going to be a little while before you end up with a solid 12 or 13 man roster where you feel comfortable fouling the heck out of your opponent, but it can always give you the edge. Block will be great, it will just support your team. Tackle will be tactical. Kick is going to be really useful to just spread out the opponent's team. And dirty player will foul someone off. There are a couple of doubles that go really well as well. Sneaky git if you go with dirty player. If you've got a spare man, if you're your 13th player, dirty player, and then save up for sneaky git, I think it's actually going to be really effective. Guard is great, and the more guard you get on this team, the safer the team is going to be. So get block, maybe just farm those SPP, take guard. You can take dodge, but I think guard is going to benefit this team even more. And stats wise, not interested in movement or passing. Agility, getting an agility boost to average just doesn't feel worth it. Strength is brilliant, but that's only a 1 in 8 chance of it happening, so I wouldn't even bother saving up that mate. That's 18 SPP that you'd have to spend to make that roll. It takes 14 SPP to buy 2 regular skills, so you can achieve a lot more with a lineman. And I think the thing is, how often is your lineman going to get to 18 SPP? Not very often. So block on these guys, kick on 1, dirty player on 1, and then just look at supporting your team. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the Imperial Nobility team development. It's a really exciting team, and there's going to be a lot of players on there that get quite individual. Okay, you've got the Blitzers. The Blitzers are going to be doing all the scoring, and you've got those throwers, and the throwers are there simply because they're just better than the linemen for 30k. That is why they're there. However, having that extra agility and the ability to do a quick pass on a 3+ with a reroll is going to come in handy way more than you'd think, and running pass is going to be useful in several situations for positioning, because you're going to pass to a guy and then you're going to go fill out a point in your cage or go and tag another player. It's just going to give you a little bit of extra flexibility. It is a shame that I have sure hands. That would make them work fine. You can take it, but at that point, I don't know, it's very similar to taking agility on the retainer lineman. You're just paying SPP to make them average. It might be better just considering what you want your team to do and how you want it to function. I cannot wait to get games in with this against my Black Orcs, because I think it's going to be a really tough game. I'm so excited to see these guys land. Anyway, please let me know in the comments below what you think. What skills have I missed? What tactics have I missed as well? Because you guys have been brilliant so far at saying, what about this? What about the fouling option? Well, I actually remembered it this time, guys. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this video, and I will see you again soon with more Blood Bowl content. Thanks for watching.